you might think, well, it sounds very nice, what Hannah Ginsburg is quoting from Hachodesh. It sounds very nice. החודש הזה, כוח ההתחדשות, be given a power of renewal. But that was given to the Jewish nation as a general, as a collective nation, collective soul maybe. But it says twice lachem. Says Hasidus, says the Baal Shem Tov, says the Rebbe. It was given to each and every Yid, lachem twice, to you and you and you and you. The koach ha'yischadshus to be redeemed from the Mitzrayim, from the pain and the pangs of the suffering of his soul. So good evening, good evening. It is an exciting shiur, but because Be'ezrat Hashem, I'm hoping to how do you call it? To conclude the learning of the first chelek of Tanya, likuti Amarim, which is really the experiential and the practical aspect of Tanya, versus Sha'ar HaYichud, which is the more philosophical part. So we are, maybe when we are, after Pesach, when we will get together, maybe to have some kind of a siyum, then will be the time to kind of give a whole review of all the prakim, each perek, to say a few lines about each perek. And we see how at the end we get to Dira B'Tachtonim, to God dwelling right here with us. And that begins with our own self, our own awareness and consciousness, and then our own heart, and then the powers of action, the garments, thought, speech, and action. And from there to the entire world. So we are concluding Sefer Shel Beinonim, the book of Beinonim, the book of intermediary people. And we are also concluding Chumash Shmos with Parashas Pikudei. So in Mirz Hashem we will bring a few words from Hasidus. We cannot give here or share Dvar Malchus from Tafshin Beis because tonight is Chaf Zayin Adar. And since then we don't have the Rebbe talking to us in a regular manner. And as the Rebbe said about the previous Rebbe, we need to be the Rebbe's mouth, the Rebbe's peh. And for sure we have to be the Rebbe's hands. In any case, we are ending Chumash Shmos this Shabbos, and that's the book of Exodus, Yetzias Mitzrayim. And it's Hashgacha Pratis because really Hasidus, one way to look at Hasidus is that Hasidus is the personal, the national, and the global Yetzias Mitzrayim, Exodus of Mitzrayim, of the limitation and the constrictions and jails and distortions of human beings, and getting into the Geula Amitis Vashlema. Hasidus can get a person into his own personal redemption. When do you experience redemption? When you're in touch with your soul, beyond your intellect. And when we are in touch with the soul of the entire world, with the Elokus in the world, with the godliness in the world, with the creative power of the world. And that's what Hasidus helps us to accomplish. So it's interesting that by Hashgacha Pratis, we are finishing the book of Exodus, of the freedom of Egypt, And we are ending the Sefer Shel Beinonim, which also, in addition to bringing Elokus into one's own consciousness, godliness into one's own consciousness, the emphasis is, of course, on Dira B'Tachtonim, on the wish of God and the desire of God to have a home in this physical world, which is done through us. So, let's go into the Tanya, and we are on page 148, mamash at the bottom, last line. And we learned that the system of the way God brings in and generates his energy into the worlds is done through the Kodesh HaKodashim of each world, through the Torah of each world, through the Chabad of each world. Just as when the nefesh, when the soul wants to communicate with the body, it cannot do it directly. It has to do it through the brain. So the soul meets the body by the brain, in the brain. And so too, the Shechina, which is the aspect of the divine light, Or Ein Sof, that is shayach to the world, can meet the world through the world's brain, which is the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Torah of each world. And since we said last time also, we learned already that we know, we don't have to learn about that, but we know that we don't have the temple with the Holy of Holies in the temple physically. And so how does the world exist? Just how do all the organs of the body exist if there is no brain? But this is not the case. There is a brain, but the brain broke down to many extensions. And that's the shuls, the batei medrash, the places of prayer and study of Torah. They are the little temples. And that's why the Rebbe says that, and the Chazal say, that by the Geula, when the Geula comes, all the shuls and the batei medrash will be attached to the temple, to the third and eternal temple. And that is because they are extensions. They are a smaller manifestation, Beis Mikdash Me'at, as the Rebbe and Chazal call it. A small temple. Each shul is a small temple. And they all will reunite with their general temple, the Beis HaMikdash, HaShlishi b'Yerushalayim. Now, where, as we learned last time, where can you find the Shechina now? Where can you find Elokus? Especially we learned in Daled Amos of Halacha, in the 4 cubits of Halacha, and we learned why Dafka Halacha, why Dafka the law, why not the whole Torah? So why Dafka in Halacha? Why Dafka in mitzvahs? Halacha, the way mitzvahs are written in the Torah, because mitzvahs represent the will of God. Torah is the wisdom of God and the mind of God, if you can say so. And mitzvahs are the will of God. The will of God is the crown. The will of God is where you find God himself. The truth is that both Torah and mitzvahs are one with God. But the will of God, mitzvahs, in that sense that they are directly represent or reflect the will of Hashem, that is especially expressed in the mitzvahs. And the way we do them practically, not only the way we learn them in the Torah, which that's where it begins, but as the expression here is hamilubash bechokmaso yitbarach. This is the ratzon of Hashem, the will of Hashem, the way it is invested in the chokhmah of Hashem, in the wisdom of God. That's the way you learn the mitzvahs as laws and halachos in the Torah. And both are one with Or and Sof betachlis hayichud. They are completely one with godliness. Now this point, that davka in halacha, in Jewish law, you can find the divine will, is revealed also in what we call chokhmah ilah, the divine wisdom, which means Torah. I'm sorry. There it begins to be revealed. But really the way the will of Hashem is revealed in chokhmah ilah, in the Torah, and I'm talking now Torah shebichsav, the written Torah. It's very mysterious. It's very, as we learned already, very unclear. Like Torah says to put totafos benenecha, as we mentioned last time. To put these totafos. What are these totafos? Torah doesn't specify Torah shebichsav, which means chokhmah ilah. Chokhmah of Atzilus is too cryptic. And that's why the Rebbe is bringing the pasuk from Mishlei that Shlomo HaMelech says, "V'havaye b'chokhmah yasad aretz." That Havaye, that Or and Sof, with chokhmah he established the earth. What is earth spiritually in Atzilus? Malchus. And that is Torah Sheba'al Peh. That is Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah. It is only in the oral Torah that we can find out exactly what Hashem wants. What do totafos mean? What does tefillin mean? How do you make them? What color? How long? How big? What inside? What parshios? You don't know it from Torah shebichsav, from the written Torah. And so too, Hilchos Pesach that is coming, Bezrat Hashem, Aleinu L'Toiva V'Livracha, and all halachos, just from the Torah shebichsav, you would not know enough. So we need the Torah Sheba'al Peh. The Torah Sheba'al Peh, the oral Torah, the nafka michokhmah ilah. It came out from the divine chokhmah, from Torah shebichsav. As it says, and the Rebbe says, כמו שכתוב בזוהר, the Abba Yasad Brasa. That the father, and that's the end of the last, the second line from the bottom on page 148. The Abba Yasad Barsa or Brasa. In Aramaic it means that Abba, the father, established the daughter, which is Malchus. Chokhmah established Malchus. And we know that there is a connection, as we mentioned last time, between the father and the daughter. There's a special connection. Ish mazriya tchila yoledes nekeva. If the father feeds seeds first, she gives birth to a female, to a daughter. There's a connection between a father and a daughter, which means Av, Chokhmah, and the daughter, which is Malchus. Torah shebichsav and Torah sheba'al peh. And this Torah sheba'al peh, the oral Torah, in which all the mitzvahs are opened up and unfolded and specified and explained in details, is called Eshes Chayil. When we say Eshes Chayil, Friday night, we have in mind Bechlal the Torah, the Eshes Chayil, the Balaboste, the woman of the queen of the home, and then of course the Neshama, and then the Torah, and specifically the Torah Shebal Peh, which is Eshes Chayil. Why? Because Chayil means a troop. And Eshes Chayil ma'amida harbe cheilos, as Chazal say. She establishes many, many troops, like Torah Shebal Peh establishes many, many halachos. There are so many uncountable halachos, troops and troops and troops of piskei dinim, of legal verdicts the Chachamim have been making throughout the generations, and it's still going on. All expressing in details the will of God, what He wants and how He wants it. And now we can go back to what the Rebbe began in chapter 51, when he brought the Yanukah from the Zohar that claims that the Shekhinah dwells on the head of the person. And in order for the fire to shine and light and shine, we need shemen. We need oil. Now, what is the wick? The wick is the guf ha'adam, the person, the body. And the light of Shekhinah shines upon him from above. So we need shemen to keep the light not running away, the fire, the flame not running away. We need oil. And the wick not to be burning away. We need oil constantly. So the light would shine. And what is this shemen, this oil? Maisim toivim, good deeds, says the Zohar, the mitzvahs. So just as we have been learning that the light of the Shekhinah, the reason why you see me making these pauses, because I have to make a lot of tzimtzumim, so we can get to the end of the chapter. So these are the quiet moments. In any case, regarding this light of the Shekhinah that shines in the world, in order to create it and to animate it, we have already learned that the Shekhinah is like the aspect of the soul that animates the body, but it needs the brain. It cannot directly animate the body. It needs the brain first. And so too, the Shekhinah needs the brain of the world, which is the light of Torah. Because it is the Torah in each world is metzamtzem, tailors the light of the Shekhinah that it should be suitable for that world. Just as the brain tailors the energy of the soul that it should be suitable to the body, to each organ of the body, each function of the body, and so on and so forth. And so too, benogea to Or HaShekhinah that shines upon a Yid, a Jew, because we are Olam Katan, et Olam Natan Belibam. The whole world is in our heart, is in ourselves as well. It's not just out there. In order to fulfill the kavanah of Dira B'Tachtonim, to fulfill the intention and the desire of God to have a home in this physical world, the main aspect of it is in the Jew himself, in each one of us. And therefore shines upon him Or and Sof, which is higher than the normal order of creation, of evolvement of worlds. And this, V'zehu she'amar Yanukah, this is what the child from the Zohar, was a very wise child, said, Den Hora Ilah de Adlik al Reishe, that means that the divine light that shines upon the head of every Jew, this light, he Shchinta, that is the Shechina, the light of the Shechina. As we know from the statement of the child in the Zohar, the Hanukkah there, and that's why a Jewish man is not allowed to walk begilui rosh, with an exposed head. He has to have a yarmulke, or a hat, or a cover over his head, because the Shechina dwells upon his head. And that means this is the special Or Eloki, the special divine light that dwells upon each and every Jew, because he has a neshama, which is chelek Elokam imal mamash. And more than that, Yisrael v'Kudsha Baruch Hu kul achad. Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu are all mamash one. Nevertheless, since the neshama is invested in a body, in a guf, in nefesh bahamis, in an ego, in a vital soul, and in this physical lowest world, this godly light doesn't shine begilui, is not revealed. In a manner, and especially in the manner of Shechina. Shechina means, lishkon means to dwell in. That means bepnimius, to be able to internalize it. And therefore we need the light of Torah. Because Torah, even in this world, remains elokus begilui, godliness begilui. Torah is the ratzon and the wisdom of God. And him and his will and him and his wisdom are one. And therefore Torah connects the Jewish people with God. So the Or Eloki, this divine light, through Torah and mitzvahs, will shine begilui, in a revealed manner, and bepnimius, and internalized, and experienced inside each and every one of us. And through Torah and mitzvahs, even further than that, it's what is revealed in a Jew is the Maila of Israel that even preceded Torah itself. And therefore, this Or HaShechina that dwells upon the head of a Jew is, look inside, it's Tarech Lemashcha. It needs shemen, it needs oil in order to hold the light. So just as begashmius, in order to hold the light of the candle, you need to provide oil. We also need, a yid is a wick, and in order for the fire to shine upon us, the light to shine, we need oil. Perush, meaning, says the Rebbe, why do we need this oil? To hold the Or HaShechina that will shine by each and every Jew. And what is this shemen, this oil? This Perush, that means that the light of Shechina, in order to be able to be internalized, has to be lislabesh b'chokhmah, has to be invested in chokhmah. As we say that what is Kodesh HaKodashim? It's Chabad of every world. It's the chokhmah of every world. It's the Torah of every world. So the Shechina, in order to be able to come into the world, it needs to come to be first invested and expressed through the Torah of every world, in Chokhmah. Because it's like the brain, the Torah of every world, the Chokhmah of every world, it's like the brain of every world that takes the Shechina and allocates it properly into the different aspects and organs of the body. And so too, the Torah of every world, the Chabad of every world, takes the Shechina, the divine light, and sends it, disseminates it to the rest of the world, each aspect of the world according to what it needs and its function. And this is the shemen that holds the Shekhinah, because the Chokhmah, which means the Torah, is called a Nikres Shemen. Chokhmah is called Shemen. Chokhmah or Batzilut is called Shemen, oil. Shemen Mishchas Kodesh, כמו שכתוב בזוהר. Chokhmah is compared to Shemen that always floats over the water or the rest of the liquids, because it hints to Chokhmah, which is the highest and above all spheres. And therefore, the Anuka is specifying that you need to have Yiddishkeit beginning with Torah in order to bring Elokus, godliness, into the world, and for the world to internalize and experience and the revelation of divine light. And specifically the Zohar says, what's the oil? Ve'inun uvdin tvin or tavin. These are the good deeds. What are the good deeds? The mitzvahs. Beginning with learning what they are in Torah, and especially Torah Sheba'al Peh, and then doing them. What are they? Hentaryag mitzvahs. These are the 613 mitzvahs min Torah that hanimshachos michochmaso yisbarach, that are elicited, that are drawn from the chokhmah of God, from the Torah. And what do these mitzvahs accomplish? Kedei le'choz or HaShekhinah. They are holding the light of the Shekhinah. So it should not run away. It should stay and be, not only stay, but come in and being internalized into the world. And why? Dafka, the Chodet or Shekhinah, to hold the light of Shekhinah, meaning that the light should keep shining and burning upon the wick, which is the body, which is the person. Why Dafka mitzvahs? All the way to the practical mitzvahs? Why not remaining in theoretical debates and pilpulim of matters of Torah? I don't know, that are not necessarily have a practical implication. Why dafka the practical implication? Because we want to hold the light of the Shekhinah onto what? Bapsila, said the Rebbe, to the wick, to our body, to us as a person. Me as a person is not neshama in Gan Eden. Me as a person is me having a nefesh habahamis, an animalistic soul, an ego, a vital soul, animalistic soul, an ego, and a body. And I'm using all kinds of physical things from the world. And therefore, what is the psilad? What is this wick made of? He nefesh achiyunis shebaguf. The Shekhinah is to burn upon the vital soul of the body, not just the godly soul, but the vital soul as well. And the truth is that the Rebbe is also teaching that it's not only on the vital soul. It is the Nefesh Elokis needs it as well. The godly soul needs it as well. Tzimtzum. And this is the reason why the Nefesh HaBahamis, the animalistic soul in the body, is called a Nikres Psila, that is called Psila, a wick. Al derech mashal, because it's a metaphor. That in order to hold the fire, we need that which draws the fire to remain upon the wick and not to go back to its spiritual source under the orbit of the moon. כי כמו שבנר הגשמי, האור מאיר על ידי כיליון ושריפת הפסילה נהפכת לאש, that just in physical, as in physical fire. The fire burns through the consuming and the expiration and the consumption, the consuming of the wick, by the wick becoming fire. And that, so to speak, causes the fire, because of the wick, and by the way, that wants to be raised and consumed and subsumed in the fire, that actually causes the fire to want to stay. Because fire by nature is gvura. Gvura goes up, doesn't want to stay down. And there, especially fire that, physical fire, that its source is, for, don't ask me why, but under the orbit of the moon. That's what the Kabbalists tell us. The Alter Rebbe says as well. So fire doesn't want to stay here. When does it stay? It stays when the wick is being consumed and burned away to become fire. And what it represents, this metaphor, is the bittul of a person. The more bittul, and especially the bittul of the ego in the nefesh habahamis, the animalistic soul, the more ego of the animalistic soul, the more bittul of the animalistic soul, the more bittul of the ego, the more bittul of the goof, the more the fire wants to stay on the wick. The more the Shekhinah wants to stay and come into the world and to affect the world. Kach, says the Rebbe, the Alter Rebbe, so too in the analog, we also need the mitzvahs, so the Or HaShechina shore al nefesh ha'elokis, that first of all, that it should be shore, that the Or HaShechina should be dwelling on the animalistic soul. For that you have to do mitzvahs before, with your body, with your ego, with your vital soul. And that's how connect to God. But that also brings the Shekhinah to be dwelling upon the godly soul. So learning Torah is not enough. You need also to do mitzvahs, because doing mitzvahs is like the kilayon of the psila, the expiration of the wick, or the consumption of the wick, the burning away of the wick, becoming fire. So too al yedei kilyon nefesh habahamis, through the expiring, through the transformation of the animalistic soul that now is subdued to the divine will and is functioning according to this will, and through v'yishapchusa, its transformation and turning over, michashucha lenhora umimiriru lemiska, from darkness to light and from bitterness to sweetness, because the kochos of the nefesh habahamis that initially were dark and bitter because they were serving animalistic desires and interests, now they were elevated and included in godliness through doing mitzvahs. And now they become shining light instead of darkness, and sweetness instead of bitterness. And this transformation and expiration of the nefesh habahamis as a separate entity that serves itself to be now subdued and serving God, that causes, so to speak, the nefesh habahamis to become a keli, to receive the light of Shekhinah, and the mamshich, it draws and brings down the light of the Shekhinah upon the entire person. Now, regarding the transformation of the animal soul, says the Rebbe, this is betzadikim. This is regarding tzadikim. That the entire nefesh habahamis, meaning all your midos internally, became divine midos. That's a tzaddik. But even if you're not a tzaddik, today we are finishing Sefer Shel Beinonim. And in this case, maybe you didn't manage to completely transform your inner character traits in b'shleimus completely. But, או לפחות, at least, by Beinonim, על ידי כיליון לבושיה, through the consumption of the levushim of the nefesh habahamis, meaning thought, speech, and action. שהן מחשבה, דיבור, המעשה of the nefesh habahamis, that is being elevated and controlled and elevated, guided and channeled, maybe more correctly to say, to serving God, and regarding the levushim, the garments of the animalistic soul, nefesh habahamis, you can call it vehisaprusan. They are being transformed. Michoshech haklipos, from the darkness of ungodly interests and passions that and expressions that they were engaged in before, now they are being transformed. And that means that the action and the dibur, the speech and the thought are now included and battle and included in the Or Havaye Ein Sof Baruch Hu, the infinite light of God in godliness. המלובש ומיוחד במחשבה דיבור ומעשה של תרי"ג מצוות התורה. That we know that the Or Ein Sof, the infinite light of God, is directly invested and one with the מחשבה, דיבור ומעשה, thought, speech, and action of any of the 613 mitzvahs of the Torah. This is in Beinonim, that when you cannot transform the inner midah altogether, but you can form of the nefesh habahamis, you can transform the levushim, the garments. כי על ידי היספחוס נפש הבהמיס הבאה מקליפס נויגה, because through the transformation of the animalistic soul that nurtures its existence from klipas noiga, when it is being transformed מחשוך לנהורה וכולו, from darkness to light and from bitterness to sweetness, נעשה בחינס העלס מים נוקבין, that creates an energy that comes from below. Feminine waters is called Kabbalistically. להמשיך את אור השכינה. So this bittul, this subjugation to the will of God through the machshava, dibur, and maise of you as a person, of nefesh habahamis and the guf, and so on, that is instigate, so to speak, is a catalyst that causes the Or HaShechina to, you are pulling the light of the Shechina down. He b'chinas gilui Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu. And when we are saying the light of the Shechina, yes, we did learn that there is the nefesh itself, the way it is beyond the body, the guf, and there is the nefesh when it gets ready to animate a body. But now the Rebbe says, is b'chinas gilui Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Not only the Shechina. Eventually, through the Gilui HaShechina, the entire Or Ein Sof, not only that light, that limited light of the nefesh that comes to the brain, the entire light of the nefesh will be internalized eventually in the world, in the person, in the world. B'chinas Gilui Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu. That is infinite, eventually. not only al nafsho elokis, or the nefesh habahamis, of course, this also causes the revelation of godliness al nafsho elokis, on the godly soul that guides this whole process. Which, where does it dwell? Shebemoichen sheberosho, in the moach of the person. צמצום. ובזה יובן היטב מה שכתוב, כי הוויה אלוקיך אש אוכלהו. And with this you can understand well what it says in Dvarim, in the Torah, that Havaya, your God, Hashem, your God, is a consuming fire. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu is compared to Esh. כמו שמבואר במקום אחר. As it is explained elsewhere. Here the Rebbe concluded the entire Sefer Shel Beinonim that is meant for us. There was Sefer Shel Tzadikim, a book of the righteous, and it was burnt. But this is Sefer Shel Beinonim that is addressing us, Beinonim, common people who can reach complete autonomy and the ability to govern and direct our thoughts, speech, and action, that they should be completely in the service of God, and through that to elevate ourselves, including the nefesh habahamis and the body, and whether it is about consuming food from outside or drinks from outside or anything that we are using from the outside world in order to nurture or to protect us or to be in our service. So whether it is by consuming it and including it in us, or affecting it by interacting with the world, with the physical world around us, we are bringing this light of Shekhinah into the entire world to fulfill the divine vision of a home in the lowest realm of creation, in this physical world, where the intention and the desire of Hashem is not only to reveal the Shekhinah that she should be internalized, but the entire Or Ein Sof, which means the entire divine expression, the way God is, should be revealed here in this physical world. And it should happen tekel miyad mamash. So, that was that. And Baruch Hashem, and Yishar Koyach to Chasida for, how shall I say? Driving, pushing, schlepping, inspiring the wagon of Tanya all these years. How many years, Chasida? When did we start?
Over 17.
17 years? Over 17 years?
Over 17, yeah.
Wow.
Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. 17 is Tov. Baruch Hashem.
Tov.
Chai, and then if it's over, then it goes into Chai, and that's life. Baruch Hashem. And Yishar Koyach for making this happen, that we can, that we accomplish this tremendous accomplishment. And I hope we are giving tremendous nachas to the Alter Rebbe, to the Baal Shem Tov that began it all, and to the Magid, to the Alter Rebbe and the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach, the older Rebbe in between, that now women in Tafshin Pei learned Sefer Shel Beinonim and went through all kinds of meditations, how to love Hashem, and of course how to fear Him, and how to serve Him, and how to overcome our depressions, and how to overcome our low self-esteems, and how to create joy, and on and on and on, and how to inspire the love to Hashem in many ways by envisioning Him as our Father and our life and our life source, and so on and so forth. So, Baruch Hashem, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Now, at the same time, חזק חזק ונתחזק, we are finishing, as said before, חומש שמות, Parashas Pikudei, and just let's look for a few minutes at the end of Parashas Pikudei. כי ענן הווי על המשכן יומם, ואש תהיה לילה בו לעיני כל בית ישראל, בכל מסעיהם. There will be the cloud of Hashem upon the portable temple, upon the tabernacle, daily, and fire at night, being seen by the whole house of Israel in all their travelings. And Rashi says, Bechol mas'ehem, in all their travelings. This is how the Exodus book ends. And Bechol mas'ehem, Rashi says, Bechol chamiyasam, in all their campings. That the place of the camping is also called Masa, also called traveling, a journey. So, the simple pshat though, mas'ehem lashon traveling. And this traveling means that we have to keep growing. We have to keep working. We have to keep traveling. You have to keep growing. So, ועשו לי מקדש ושכנתי בסוכם, as Chazal say, בסוכו לא נאמר, אלא בסוכם. Make me a sanctuary and I will dwell in them. It didn't say in it, rather in them. בסוך כל אחד ואחד, in each and every one of us. That means that this is a mitzvah that is upon each and every Jew individually to sanctify his body and his physicality and to become like a temple. A place which is suitable for the dwelling of the Shekhinah. So the Yehud, the goal of a Yid is to liskadesh, to be sanctified. As we find in the Torah, in association association with many of the mitzvahs. Kedoshim tiyu, you should be holy. V'iskadishtem v'item kedoshim, you should sanctify yourselves and you should be holy. V'atem tiyu li mamleches kohanim v'goy kadosh. At Matan Torah, before Matan Torah, you should be for me, says God, a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And then Hashem promises us, V'shachanti besocham, I will dwell in them. That when a Yid fulfills the divine expectation and command, V'asu li mikdash, and is mekadesh himself, sanctifies himself, then his body becomes a small temple in which the Shekhinah dwells. And keneged there, regarding this, the pasuk says, "Ki anan Hashem al hamishkan yomam ve'esh tiyeh laila bo." That the cloud, the divine cloud, will be upon the temple during the day and the fire during the night. That means what? That when a person tries to sanctify himself and turn his interest towards the divine expectation, then there is a divine protection upon him. This divine cloud, that like the cloud that covered over the Mishkan, over the temple. So too, there is a divine protection that is expressed through the term Anan, and a divine protection that is expressed through fire that protects the person, a Yid who tries to mekadesh himself, to sanctify himself. And this is what it says in the Pasuk, and how the Chumash concludes, Bechol Maseihem, in all their travelings. So the Baal Shem Tov says, regarding all their travelings, that how many travelings we had in the Midbar, in the desert. We mentioned this idea before. 42 Masaos, mem-based journeys, 42 journeys. And the Baal Shem Tov taught us that every Jew throughout his lifetime travels 42 journeys, individually as well. And that's why the Chumash includes Ele Mas'ei Bnei Israel. These are the, when it first of all begins by saying Ele Mas'ei Bnei Israel, describing all the journeys, and concludes also Bechol Maseihem. These are the journeys of each and every Jew, from the moment coming out of Mitzrayim, collectively from the moment we became a nation, and individually from the moment we are born, from the womb of the mother, until he comes back to the divine land when he gives his life back to God and joins the divine life. So from birth to passing, every Jew travels 42 journeys. And the Holy Torah teaches us how every Jew should travel these 42 journeys until he goes back home. These are the Masaos of Bnei Israel through 40 years in the desert that it is described in the Torah, Bamidbar Hagadol Vehanora. It is a great, awesome, horrible desert, a place of Nachash, Saraf, Va'akrav, a place of snakes and burning poisonous reptiles and scorpions, representing the three klipos atmeos, impure godly forces. And it says in Dvarim, "V'zacharta es kol haderech asher holichach Hashem Elokecha ze 40 shana bamidbar." You should remember these travelings, when Hashem led you through this horrible, threatening desert, and helped you to be rescued from all these poisonous challenges and enemies. Each and every Jew goes through his challenging desert with all kinds of klippos challenging him. But we get divine help. We get divine assistance. We get divine protection. Sometimes even through a neshama or tzaddik that superconsciously will help you to overcome all these scorpions and the snakes and the poisonous animals. So we should remember that bechol maseihem there is a divine cloud and a divine fire that protects all those who try to sanctify themselves and help us to overcome, be rescued and overcome all these poisonous challenges. There is a divine protection, day and night. And this is the inyan of the book of Shmos that begins in the parashas of the exile of Mitzrayim and then the redemption of Mitzrayim, that it is like the birth of the Jewish people, and then begin the 42 journeys that we passed through and traveled through, in which we grew as a nation, and some of the journeys were in a very revealed way journeys of growth and coming closer to Hashem, growing spiritually, like Kabbalah Satorah, coming to Mount Sinai. There were other travelings where we went down. But from all these 42 general journeys, all together we grew. We became mature and ready to go into the promised land. And so too each and every individual goes through these 42 journeys, personal journeys. Some of them are apparent aliyah and ascent, and some of them are experienced as descent. But from all of them together, each and every one of us reaches home, reaches the goal. And then Sefer Shmos concludes in the last parshios regarding V'asuli mikdash v'shachanti b'sercham, to make me a temple and so I should dwell in them, that this is the tachlis of a yid, that he should make a mishkan, a temple out of himself, and then he will merit to the Shekhinah, to godliness, to dwell in him in a revealed and experiential manner. And this whole process is done through divine protection of the divine cloud during the day and divine fire during the night. Much more to say about it, but this is regarding Pikudei. And now we have the last point to make. And this is the last of the 4 parshios that we read during the month of Adar. This coming Sunday is Rosh Chodesh Nisan, a very, very yichusdik day. And on Shabbos we read the last of the parshios, Parashas Hachodesh. החודש הזה לכם, ראש חודשים, ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. We are going to read in the Torah, החודש הזה, this chodesh, this ראש חודש Nisan, is ראש חודשים, is the head of all months. ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. It is the first for you, לכם, to the month of the year, of the months of the year. So we need to understand what is this Parsha, Parshas HaChodesh. Because regarding the other 3 Parshas, we can understand what the place they have in Avodas Hashem. Like very briefly, we read Parshas Shkalim. Parshas Shkalim is the inyan of Truma of Bnei Israel to the Korbanos, to the yearly sacrifices, that is shayach even bazman hazeh, in our time as well, as the words of the Medrash, that each and every year, when we read Parshas Shkalim, it's as if Moshe Rabbeinu is standing there and he is raising the heads of the Jewish people. And so too the Parshas Zachor, before Purim. It's an eternal mitzvah to erase the shorish of the evil of Amalek. Parshas Para is all about purifying a yid, making him ready with the ashes of the red heifer, making a yid ready to be able to bring the korban in Beis HaMikdash. What is the inyan of reading the Parshas HaChodesh this Shabbos in Avodas Hashem? Again, a lot of tzimtzumim need to be made in order to say it short. And then there are other questions about this kriya, HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. First of all, it says that this mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh was given to Yidden, and the Torah makes a point to say it was given be'eretz Mitzrayim, in the land of Mitzrayim. Where are other mitzvahs that every mitzvah it says where it was given, where it was said? Why it has to be said that it was given, Kiddush HaChodesh was given in Eretz Mitzrayim. Was spoken in Eretz Mitzrayim. Why it says, החודש הזה לכם ראש חודשים, this month is for you, ראש חודשים, the head of the month, and then ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. And Nochamol, it's like the other half of the pasuk repeats itself, so to speak, and says, well, it's first for you for the months of the year. You just said that is Rosh Chodashim, is the head of the month. And why it says lachem twice, to you? החודש הזה לכם, and then it says, ראשון הוא לכם, for you, twice. We all remember that in the beginning of Parashas Bereshis, of the Torah, the entire Torah, Rashi writes that החודש הזה לכם, ראש חודשים, is really the first mitzvah that is tavu by Israel. That's the first mitzvah. And really the Torah should have begun with this mitzvah. Only that Rashi wants to bavon to make sure that we know, we have what to answer the goyim who claim listimatem, you are robbers, you rob Eretz Israel. Otherwise the Torah would begin with החודש הזה לכם ראש חודשים. ראשון לחודשי השנה. ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. So we have to understand דווקא the mitzvah from all 613 mitzvahs, דווקא the mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh is the first mitzvah that Bnei Israel were commanded with. Hasidus explains that really why the pasuk says, החודש הזה לכם ראש חודשים, ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. This chodesh is a rosh and a first for the chodashim, chodesh, chodashim, first, rishon. During the Jewish year, there are many times of his chadshus, of renewal, chodesh, chidush, renewal, his chadshus, in which a yid can be renewed as a new creation, become new, become a new. I don't know how to say it in English well. To be recreated, to be mitchadesh. Can anyone translate to English?
Renewed.
All Shabbosim, Shabbases, Yamim Tovim, are really meant for a Yid to come back to his home, to his source, to reconnect with his soul, to reconnect with God, to reconnect with the higher world. But this Chodesh, Lachem, for you, is Rosh Chodashim, which means that the renewal of this Chodesh, of Chodesh Nisan, the first day of Nisan, this renewal is Rosh Lechol HaIschadshuyos, is the head of all renewals of the year. Coming up this Sunday, ladies, Motzei Shabbos and Sunday. ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. Chodesh Nisan, the entire month of Nisan, which is called the first of all months, and especially Rosh Chodesh Nisan, this coming Sunday, is especially prone, mesugal, I don't know how to say, prone to and leans to his chadshus more than any other time of renewal in the world, in the year. In many ways, even over Rosh Hashanah, Tishrei. So that means that in this special time, a Yid is able to be renewed and recreated even in the hardest challenges that throughout the year he cannot break through and cannot recreate himself. but he finds himself failing again and again, running in circles. This time of the month of Nisan is a special time when one can break through and create a chidush that was never there before. This inyan of his chachus, this inyan, this energy, this miraculous energy of being able to be born again, to be renewed, is a special koyach and power that was given to the Jewish people only. That in all conditions, no matter how low, a Yid can be mitchadesh, reborn, as bria chadasha, as a newborn creature. Hachodesh hazeh lachem, says the Torah. This chidush, this power of innovation and renewal is given lachem, to you, to the Jewish people. Lachem velo lagoim. Because the goyim, the Gentiles, are counting their reality, their calendar, according to the sun. And we count according to the levana, to the moon. Because the moon gets renewed, reborn, monthly. The sun always stays the same, and the moon is always mischadeshes, changes and gets renewed. That happens moment by moment. This energy is happening on a small scale, moment by moment, hour by hour, day by day. Each day, one day is not similar to the previous. And there is a greater ischachus every month, at the beginning of the month. And this is why we are aligned with the moon. And even in the darkest times, when a Yid gets to a matzav of Ephes, and this in our time, unfortunately, the Jewish people experience this darkness. Then as well, there is the koyach of Israel that knows that now it's dark, but right away, very soon, will be a renewal. And the light will shine again. And therefore, Rashi says Rashi, really we should have begun the Torah with the Hachodesh hazeh lachem, which is the first mitzvah with which we are all commanded. Which means that it's such an important, the most important mitzvah in many ways, and therefore was chosen to be the first from all 613. Because in this mitzvah HaChodesh is hidden the rebirth, renewal, and the eternal survival power and renewal power of the Jewish people that are bechlal altogether. Our lives are made of ongoing renewals. Bechol eis ubechol sha'ah, constantly, in all kinds of conditions, even the darkest ones. And this power of emunah and this of faith and renewal was given to us, so we can be reborn, we can be mischadesh. And therefore, this is a mitzvah with which the entire Torah should have begun. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives to the chosen nation special moadim and zmanim, designated, sanctified times, so a person, a Yid, can be mischadesh, can renew himself and become renewed, and revitalized and recreated. Each Yontef, each Chag, has a special meaning, a special aspect of this renewal. And about this we say in the Tfilas מועדים, ועשיינו הווי אלוקינו את ברכת מועדיך. There is a bracha of each, for each yontif, each moed, unique to each chag, with which we are being mischadesh, renewed. But החודש הזה לכם, ראש חודשים, this is the Rosh Verishon, the head and the first of all times of renewal during the year. And it's the greatest of all. כמאמר חז"ל, בניסן נגאלו, ובניסן עתידים להיגאל. On Nisan they were redeemed, and on Nisan they will be redeemed. That this is the Chodesh on which or in which the Jewish people were redeemed, and we are going to be redeemed by a total renewal on the highest level. And the Torah emphasized that this command of Kiddush HaChodesh was said to the Yidden Be'eretz Mitzrayim, which means when we were the utmost darkness, a place of darkness and impurity. There they were given the mitzvah of Hischachus. We can say that in our time, there was those moments on Simchas Torah. There was those moments of darkness and tumah, being defiled, being humiliated, being violated, being desecrated. Yet this mitzvah was given in the pain, in the desecration, in the brokenness, in the darkness. ראשון הוא לכם לחודשי השנה. And twice לכם. Why? Because you might think, well, it sounds very nice. What Hannah Ginsburg is quoting from Hasidus. It sounds very nice. החודש הזה, כוח ההיסחדשוס, we given a power of renewal. But that was given to the Jewish nation as a general, as a collective nation, collective soul maybe. But it says twice lachem. Says Hasidus, says the Baal Shem Tov, says the Rebbe. It was given to each and every Yid, lachem twice, to you and you and you and you. The koach ha'yischadshus to be redeemed from the Mitzrayim, from the pain and the pangs of the suffering of his soul. And בכל דור ודור חייב אדם לראות את עצמו כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. There is much more to say, but it's time to let you go. And I'm wishing everyone, this will be already the last year before Pesach, and therefore I'm wishing everyone wonderful, happy, smooth, easy preparations for Pesach, and it should be a Pesach kasher v'sameach, al taras Hachodesh, v'hidur, all the hidurim at the same time, with the experience of hischadshus, of renewal and rebirth, of all the koiches as a redeemed nation, collectively and individually, that we should see the world with new eyes of the light of the Shekhinah, shining not only on top of us, but within us, and in the entire world, that it should be, Ra'u kol basar yachdav, the physical, the flesh itself will see godliness, and all this yachdav, together with the Geula Amitis V'Ashleima, the Rebbe Melech HaMashiach leading us, mitoch simcha v'tuv levav, with good news, and what else can I say? We should have Mashiach now, right away. Mushka, that's the epitome of this Dira B'Tachtonim. The Rebbe explained the Chaya Mushka. Chaya represents Chayus, which means the vitality that can be internalized, Ora Memale. And Mushka, Mush is Reach, the smell represents how Or Ein Sof remains beyond and Makiv. What Reach, smell represents fragrance. And we are combining both. The finite with the infinite, the memala with the sovev, the world with God. That's what Chaya Mushka represents. And we should see her neshama b'guf with all her grace and her power and her determination and the understanding what the gift of Hachodesh, which is really the potent, the potion of Hischadshus, of renewal, that this generation, the generation of Geula, received in a manner that was never, and in a measure that was never done before, and that is for the sake of the Geula Amitis Vashlema, when we'll be reunited with Rebbetzin, the Rebbetzin and the Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach, Mitoch Simcha B'Tuv Levav. And she to be take her biad mamash now.